Good evening, Joe Homan here from the Orchard Project, just explaining about some threatened trees for a site in Leatherhead that I know really well at the Red House Recreation Ground. I'm just going to talk about some of the trees that are threatened by development by Mole Valley District Council and explain why they need to be protected. I was born in Leatherhead in 1969 and I remember this site really well because I've used it over the years lots of times coming into the town, and it's also one of the most well used ways that if you live in North Leatherhead, like I was born in North Leatherhead, and you're coming into the town, and if you're coming along Randall's Road to come into the town centre, this is where you're going to cut through. So for some people this is the only park that they're going to see all day, and so it's a really important amenity space, and there's some really beautiful trees in there which I'll talk more about now. This is how the site looks on the Mole Valley website, just showing the extent of it. I do believe that the car parks have expanded into this space quite a lot, and they didn't used to be quite as big. And where the play space is, there used to be a tennis court, a netball court, and that's now left the kind of a banked area that's now just a big lawn, which has got the mulberry tree growing along the edge of it, as we'll see in a minute. And this is the area that they want to develop, all of it. And it sounds like the plans to put really very tall buildings in here are just disastrous for the site. It's the first piece of land that you see when you come into Leatherhead, and it's a really kind of well-loved space by lots of us locals. So it's really shocking that Mole Valley Council wants to do what they're planning on doing. This is what the site looks like on Google Maps. You can see the bigger car park, the smaller car park on the south side of the big grassy area, and you can see the footpath going through the middle of it with a railway track on one side. And as you can see, that path leads directly to the train station, so it's fairly obvious why this is such an attractive site for developers, because anyone living here would be very near to the train station, but it's in my opinion too high a cost to the local, well, for everyone who lives in the area, who actually uses it now, as well as for biodiversity in the area. And here it is looking at it from the other side. I'm going to be focusing on a few of the trees that are pretty prominent in this landscape. So this tree here is the giant redwood. Then there's an enormous London plane. There's also the really old mulberry tree that's near the area that used to be the sports area. Then there's a veteran apple tree, an old, possibly veteran pear tree, and a medlar tree, which isn't particularly old, but it's one that I'm pretty fond of personally because I harvest from it quite a lot. So the sequoia, the giant sequoia, is pretty mature, beautiful trunk going right up, creating a very dramatic shape on the skyline. And when you first come into the park, if you peek into it, it's always quite striking to see how the holm oak is growing out of the, well, it looks like it's growing out of the trunk. Well, I think as the sequoia has got bigger over the years, it's just kind of envelops the holm oak trunk. So in the picture on the left, it's the holm oak that's the much shorter tree on the left hand side, but even that, if you were standing there, you would be tiny in comparison. So yeah, and an absolute beauty, as is the London plane in the corner. So in the picture on the left, the London plane is the really thick trunk that's at the back, and by way of comparison, right near me in the photo on the right hand side is a yew tree with a trunk that's about maybe 80 centimeters diameter. So that London plane is really mature and absolutely massive. There's the mulberry tree growing on the slope So you can see some of the young mulberry fruits. I took this photo in May. I've also done a recording of this mulberry tree by itself, which is also in the same channel and on this YouTube channel. And so the mulberry tree is actually growing on a slope, so some of the branches are resting on the slope. And also when you go under the tree, you can see how some of the branches have fused together. So although it's not really showing veteran features, I think still got plenty of life left in it, this mulberry tree. It's certainly pretty old and got quite a lot of interesting things going on it. And then there's the veteran apple tree, which I've harvested from plenty of times. It's lost a few major limbs over the years, and you can see it's got hollowing in the trunk. And what happens with trees when they get towards the end of their lifespan, like is happening with this apple tree, is that they become a home to loads and loads of invertebrates that are adapted to living in this kind of well-lit, dry deadwood in the center of the tree. So the tree can be living around a hollow center, perfectly happy for many, many years. And in that whole time, there'll be thousands and thousands of little heartwood invertebrates that eat the kind of the heartwood and that live on it. The larvae live on it for many years before emerging. Some of those species are protected, like the noble chafer beetle, and there's also associated bracket fungi with this kind of tree, which you can kind of keep an eye on over the years. So yeah, a really strikingly beautiful tree with really tasty fruit, which I've enjoyed eating. So it would be a real right. You wouldn't be able to replace this basically by planting a young tree, because it hasn't got the veteran habitat that this tree has by virtue of the fact that it's really quite old, probably about 70 years or something like that. And then there's a pear tree that's pretty old. The things coming from the base are suckers from the rootstock. It's looking in pretty good state, this pear tree. It's got quite a lot of very long, heavy limbs, but as is typical with a pear, they're all quite vertical, so not really offering any danger to anyone. But again, visually very dramatic within the park landscape. And also there's this medlar tree, which is pretty young but very productive, with loads and loads of beautiful fruit on it. So this is what they look like in May. So yeah, as I think I've shown, there's some really beautiful and important trees in this park. I focused on the giant redwood, the incredible London plane, the mulberry tree, the veteran apple tree, the pear tree, and the medlar tree. And I really hope that for their sake alone, this park is going to be kept as is, because of the incredible biodiversity and amenity value that they bring to Leatherhead. Thanks very much for watching.